Good morning and welcome to the Daily Deeper. I want to encourage you today if you are feeling anxious, if the COVID-19 pandemic, you being isolated, maybe losing your job, maybe losing a loved one, if you feel anxious about losing a loved one, I want to encourage you today. John 14:1 says, Jesus is saying here to us, do not let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God, trust also in me. You believe in God, believe also in me. Do not let your hearts be troubled. You see, when we look at the trouble that we might face, when we look at the hardships that we might face, when we look at what could happen to people, we are letting our heart be troubled. But we don't have to give permission to our heart to be troubled. Instead, we can give permission to our heart to trust God. We can give permission to our heart to trust Jesus, the King of Kings. He absolutely will take care of us. He will make sure that sin and Satan and death do not have the final word. Death cannot have the final word anymore. Jesus defeated it. Sin cannot have the final word anymore. Jesus defeated it. All of the lies of Satan cannot win. Jesus is more victorious than Satan. Maybe you feel like you are going around in circles and all of this is just making matters worse for you. The uncertainty and insecurity that you feel normally are even more exaggerated. Do not let your heart be troubled. Do not let your heart be troubled. Trust in Jesus. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your path straight. You see, we cannot guarantee what is going to happen to us today. We can't guarantee what's going to happen to us tomorrow, let alone in a week, a month, a year, 5 years, 10 years. We do not know, but Jesus knows. And if we follow Him, He will make sure that our life is filled with goodness. Jesus is good. He's good all the time, and all the time He is good. He cannot not be good. He absolutely will always be good no matter what. And so when we think about the world, when we think about our lives, when we think about what is coming ahead of us, we can know and trust that Jesus is working out good for us. That we are safe in this world, we have nothing to fear, that the end result of all of this tragedy and hardship will be Jesus reigning victoriously and will result in praise, glory, and honor to Jesus, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. So don't let your heart be troubled. Trust in Jesus. Look at Him. Acknowledge Him. When we are anxious, it is because we do not think that Jesus is actually King of Kings and Lord of Lords. We think that in some way we must take matters into our own hands, or something will happen outside of the control or responsibility of Jesus. That will be our responsibility. That will be our fault. And so when we believe that Jesus is King, that He's got us, He's got things under control, that is when anxiety fails. And how do we know that Jesus has things? Because He conquered death. He rose from the dead. And just as He conquered sin and death and Satan, He will conquer all of the hardships that you face. So trust in Him. Trust in Him with all your heart. Trust in Him. When you feel a feeling of anxiety, don't let it happen. Instead, present your request to God. As Philippians 4 says, be anxious for nothing, but in everything, with thanksgiving, present your request to God. Make your needs known to Him. Take a moment to pray and ask God to help you with the specific things, and then you leave it in the Lord's hands. You give it to Him and let Him take care of it, and He absolutely will take care of it. He will take care of it because He's good. He hears you. He knows what's in your heart. He knows what's in your mind. He knows what you need before you even ask Him. If He knows what you need before you even ask Him, you know that you can trust Him. If He cares to feed the birds of the air, how much more you? If He clothes the flowers of the field, how much more you? He will take care of you. This is from the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus' most famous sermon, and He wants to take care of you. So be blessed today. And remember today, don't let your heart be troubled. Trust in God. Trust also in Jesus.